All right, everybody, welcome back to the Feed Me Sports Podcast. This is our second podcast, and today we're going to be talking about some more NFL free agents, what guys have signed to what places, and probably why. We're doing some Raw reactions, some SmackDown reactions, and a little bit of 205 Live because I think it was crazy interesting this week. And then we're also going to close it out with some March Madness because the tournament is starting tomorrow, and it's my favorite part of March because Duke basketball finally plays like a real team and not like something I should be ashamed of. So joining me today in the podcast is, of course, Lewis Schaefer and Alex Birch. How you guys doing? How you feeling going into this day?
Cold and snowy.
Yeah,
I had to walk through a tundra for a presentation today, so
it's all right.
Too much shoveling. I think I threw my back out. IR.
I had the worst experience this morning where I walked down the driveway because I was like, I'm gonna salt it so it isn't awful to drive on. So I was salting it, I slipped and probably broke 3 of my vertebrae, and all my neighbors just stared. And I really thanked them for that.
It's okay.
Yep.
The sales thought putting ice over snow would do something. I walked out this morning, and in front of a villa there was just snow with salt on top of it.
Did you please tell me that you did the McShay slide one last time?
That'll happen.
That's my favorite part of snow at DeSales. Lewis Schaefer and his infamous McShay slide because he just can't get down that hill.
Many times you have slid and fall, but none beats the McShay slide.
Well, that one I did on purpose. I wasn't walking.
Yeah, no, he sat down and he scooted himself all the way back to our dorm.
Quite the sight indeed.
To anyone who hasn't seen Lewis fall and then slide, or slide on purpose, it's a wonder, truly. It truly, truly is. Also, I want to give a big shout out to the one person who favorited our podcast, who I don't actually know is a real human being, but thank you for listening. Thank you for thinking that 3 idiots talking about things we really don't know about is entertaining to somebody, I guess.
But I will say, I do enjoy Lil Wayne and Lil Yachty, so keep liking it.
No. It was Drake and Yachty, all right? No
Drake
Lil Wayne.
Yachty?
Yeah, it was
No
Drake
Lil
and
Wayne?
Yachty. No Lil Wayne. No one likes Lil Wayne, let's be honest.
I'm not the biggest fan of Drake either because he complains a lot. But, hey.
Because you're from Philly.
Yeah,
You're
you don't
from
like
Philly.
You're just supporting Meek Mill still. You're hoping he makes a comeback.
We will put this to bed now. Meek Mill's garbage. Knock it off.
Yeah, but he's from Philly. You have to support
I would
him.
acknowledge that. I acknowledge Kevin
So wait,
Hart
Birch,
from Philly.
is your favorite cruiserweight wrestler Drew Gulak because he's from Philly?
No.
Is your favorite announcer Tom Phillips because he's from Philly?
Well, I do like Tom Phillips, but no.
No love for TP. No love.
No.
All right, so we'll start off with free agents. Eddie Lacy goes to the Seahawks. I mean, this was kind of a move that all of us thought was gonna happen and kind of saw happening. But Lewis, what's your takeaway from when that it's actually here and Eddie Lacy is actually the heir apparent to Marshawn Lynch?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Very, very similar style of runner to Marshawn when he came over from Buffalo way back when. Obviously, Marshawn, a bit of success early on, fell out of favor in Buffalo. And we're going to see. I think Lacy could do something similar in Seattle. The thing I like the most, though, I mean, for me and you, Alec, one less team in on Peterson now.
That's also true. One less team who really wants Adrian Peterson. Yep. Because is that a theme for Pete Carroll though? Is that just like, hey, I hear a running back that had a pretty promising career now has fallen out of favor in his old team. Let me go grab him and see if I can put him on the Atkins diet so we can make this work.
Yep, as long as they have dreads.
Yeah, no, and that's the other priority. He has to have a funny nickname or do something silly, and he's got to have dreadlocks.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see because, from what I'm looking at right now, I mean, I liked Eddie Lacy when he first broke into the league. It hasn't really done anything for me in the last 2 years. Especially this year, took him on fantasy thinking he'd bounce back, and man, was I wrong.
Yeah, I did the same
took
thing.
Took him before Le'Veon Bell was gone, so.
I feel ashamed. I did the same.
But, we'll see. I mean, right now, kind of going from beast mode to feast mode. Can we make that into a t-shirt? But we'll see. Maybe he gets it on track in Seattle.
I think we have too many t-shirts already. There's been at least 3 catchphrases we've said that could be put on shirts, and I don't think we want any of them. I'll make a big shirt that says A doubles package.
A doubles package.
So
he'll be selling that T-shirt soon.
So, Burge, what do you think about the Lacy signing? What does that do for Seattle? And in their division, where they are now back in the running, having a running back business and having a good running game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Lewis. I like it. Pete Carroll came out and said that he wants Eddie Lacy to be big, like 240, 245, but it's just about maintaining that so he doesn't look like an overinflated balloon and then has to deal with durability issues. The thing for me, though, is it really gets interesting because you still have Thomas Rawls on the roster. You have C.J. Prosise. So I guess the Seahawks are just going to roll out 3 running backs at any given time. But looking at it on paper, I still think they need to beef up that offensive line come draft day to help Lacy. So, but overall, I like the move feast mode rather than beast mode. So, look, Seattle, the way that Seattle won the Super Bowl was behind a power run game. Lacy gives them a power run game. So I think he needed a fresh scenery. Good move by them.
So I'll ask one last question about Lacy. Does he still wear the Hulk shirt under his new uniform now?
Oh, absolutely.
110%.
Yeah? All right. I was thinking maybe he changes superheroes to something more the Seahawks color, but, I guess the dark green can work.
Especially when they break out that green jersey.
Yeah, he can do the Green Lantern. He can get that Ryan Reynolds Under Armour shirt.
I mean, let's be honest. If you look at him now, he's more like Mr. Incredible when he came out of retirement. So.
Yeah, that's true. All right. All right, so then the second big free agency signing that just happened like a few hours ago, really, and that was an interesting story up until pretty much this morning. Hightower decides to stay with the Pats. He was in with the Jets, Pats, and Steelers this morning, and decided that he wasn't going to go to the Jets by walking in their training facility. So my question is, what does that say about the Jets that someone of his caliber walked in, was promised to be the anchor to that defense, and then literally looked at it and said, no thank you. And then he goes back to the Pats.
For me, at least, I think he at least had to consider the Steelers because they have a good defense. The Jets, I think, brought him in just to hope that on a prayer he would sign with them just to weaken the Patriots. There was no way he was signing with that team. I mean, the Jets are a complete mess and in a total rebuild. I'm not surprised he re-signed with the Pats. I think he just wanted to test free agency to see what his worth was, to see if he could get some monster deal, which I do think the Steelers could have proposed. But him staying in New England, I think, is the best move for him. I have to believe he walked into that stadium, looked at that roster, speaking of the Jets, chuckled to himself, and just walked out.
But for the stories I've been reading, he didn't even walk into the stadium. He didn't even make it to the stadium. He went to their training facility and said no. So he
had to look at the roster and just think to himself, I go from 2 Super Bowl rings to this. Yeah, no, thank you.
Is it a situation where Belichick came down and just said, "Hey, listen, I know you can make money somewhere else, but I can give you 6 more rings here because we just got Brandon Cooks"?
Has to be. And you know what? Belichick probably even dared him to go sign with the Jets and just live.
And just, I dare you to come back here.
And then, he re-signs with the Pats and Belichick, I told you so.
Yeah, I know. What if he just sent in Hightower as a spy? That's his new cheating strategy.
Oh my God, spy.
To send free agents.
He's going to send free agents and know they're coming back, but he just wants to see what they're doing over there in East Rutherford.
That's why Chandler Jones is a Cardinal and Jamie Collins is a Brown. He's got eyes everywhere.
He's got a spy network throughout the NFL.
Yeah, if the Patriots are so afraid of the Jets, given the circumstances of both rosters, then that's pretty bad because that Jets roster is just a poop fest. I mean.
Yeah, no, that's
it. Yeah, but they were afraid of the Jets with Spygate, and they weren't good.
Well, but
that's true. Eric Mancini gave Bill Belichick the shakes.
Yeah, but the Jets, then again, back in Spygate, had a decent team, a much better team than they have now. But
that's true.
But stink, right?
Hey, I mean, if Roger Goodell's ever listening, look into that. Can we just take a quick peek at the contracts of Jamie Collins and the like to see what they're doing over there?
Logan Ryan now in Tennessee.
Yeah,
they're
Logan
all
Ryan.
over the place.
I mean, that's just no one knows if McCourty's also a spy. He might have gotten his brother in on it.
McCourty may have done something when he was in Philadelphia when Rapapashit told us about it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
God.
listen, you're sending out free agents and they keep coming back. Oddly enough, now he's got the deets on the Saints too because Cooks just showed up. I mean,
and Butler may be over there, so
yeah, I mean,
he's gonna know the Saints like inside and out.
The only team that is safe is the New York Giants, so everyone's better start paying up some premiums to us so we can win.
I've already counted us out of the running for Super Bowl 52, so you guys have fun.
So what happens now in that more free agency market now that Hightower was probably one of the better players still on the board, not counting Peterson? What does that do to the market to anyone else who's still out there? Does that make it even more important for them to sign somewhere real quick or to kind of gauge their options to see if they can make more money?
I don't know. I mean, you look around, obviously the high-profile players are gone, with the exception of Butler as a restricted free agent. I think Hightower got about $10 million a year, so I think that probably ups the value of Zach Brown leaving Buffalo a bit. Receivers are receivers. They're going to be able to sign one in camp when some guy has a hammy injury and see if they make the team. I would think it, helps that, I think we're going to start to see more of the veteran visits now.
Okay.
Like, for example, I just got a tweet because I'm doing this on my phone. Rappaport just tweeted Revis was cleared of all charges. He's one that'll take some visits soon, I would guess. Peterson, Charles has been taking visits. So I think we're going to start to see that veteran market kind of shape up here.
Yeah, and it's interesting too with the veteran market. Looking at AP, Jamal Charles, even Romo, they can take their time with this and really gauge the interest, see what teams have in store for the draft, what their plan is going forward. So I don't think there's going to be a big signing until maybe another week or two because I think that the situation that these guys are in is great. You can just sit back, kind of just feel the market, see what teams are offering you, and go from there.
So let me ask this then. I was reading recently that the Rams had been meeting with Connor Barwin. Now, no one really knows how far that's getting, but does that increase his value as someone who can both, stand up as a linebacker and go down the line as a pass rusher? Where does that put him in the market of, Hightower is gone, I need a linebacker? Connor Barwin's a big veteran presence who still has a lot to go in his career.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think not to cut you off, Rich, but I think in the right scheme, he is right up there with anybody. I think we may see very similar to, 3 years now, when Julius Peppers was released by the Bears and then signed on with Green Bay in the right scheme. And
he went off.
Yeah, and he went off, and now he's gotten another, he's 37, 38, and he's got another contract. I think in the right scheme, we may see a revival from Connor Barwin. And if he goes to the Rams, who have Wade Phillips, who did just that with DeMarcus Ware.
Right.
And
you're also
totally
going into a situation where he won't have to go down the line very much. I mean, you're talking about Robert Quinn, William Hayes, Aaron Donald. And you're
Hayes is in Miami now.
Yeah, Hayes is in Miami now, but he replaces that Hayes hole real quick. Shores it right up. And now he's...
The thing for me with Barwin was, I got to see two versions of him. When Chip came in and brought him in as one of his first free agent signings, they had the 3-4 defense. And, in 2013, 2014, he was the NFC sack leader in a 3-4 system. And then, Doug brings in the 4-3 with Jim Schwartz, which he struggled in. So, yeah, I know Wade Phillips runs a 3-4. I think Barwin excels in the 3-4. The Eagles were not going to change to a 3-4 just to keep Connor Barwin. I'm looking at it as, with the pieces that the Rams have on defense, Donald, Quinn, Alec Ogletree, Mark Barron, Barwin is Brockers too. Dominique Easley, those guys on the front seven. I think given him fitting in with a 3-4 so well and being a veteran presence, I think that, that's a great move by LA.
and Joyner coming back. I mean, that's gonna make
Yeah.
LA a pretty good defense that they can build around.
And Wade Phillips, I mean, is a great defensive coordinator. Just look at what he did in Denver. I mean,
Absolutely.
Denver had one of the top defenses the last 3-4 years with his system. So, I mean, Barwin signing with the Rams, I think that really gives a boost not only to him but to that defense and their front seven.
Yeah, I mean, it also makes it dangerous because you're talking about Wade Phillips, a guy who managed to keep probably the premier mobile quarterback in the NFL, Cam Newton, on his tuchus. So, like, that's pretty impressive because you're talking about a guy who's going to play Russell Wilson a lot.
Yeah, Russell Wilson, we'll see what happens with the 49ers and their quarterback situation. But, I know that the NFC East play the NFC West. So, Carson better be running. Eli better be running.
Eli's not going anywhere. Eli's going to build a fortress and hide in it.
But, yeah, I mean, he unfortunately didn't fit well in the 4-3. And, that's why we had to get rid of him. Like I said, it's not like the Eagles were going to change back to a 3-4 just for him. So him going to a 3-4 and him going to assist him with a proven defensive coordinator, I think you're really going to see the Connor Barwin of 2014, where he had about 10 to 15 sacks in that range.
Sounds good for the Rams. Awful for the Eagles.
Yeah, especially on the defense that gets enough sacks already.
Yeah, especially with Robert Quinn having I don't even know how many he had last year, but he's just a machine out there, and Donald can shore up any running game with one arm, so that's gonna be a scary front three to look at. So
without a doubt.
We'll move towards wrestling now. Monday Night Raw. I have a question to ask because I watched it. I was disappointed again for what seems like the 22nd week in a row. My question is, why can't Raw have clean endings? I mean, in 3 big matches that had big implications, we saw people get counted out or disqualified. Mostly disqualified. I mean, you had the tag team match to decide who would face the club at WrestleMania. The club comes out and disqualifies both teams. They're going to have a match between Nia Jax and Bayley, which can go a long way into saying how many women are really going to be in that big match for the title at WrestleMania. Nia Jax gets disqualified against Bayley. I mean, does this just seem as a theme that we're just going to keep having DQs and no one's ever going to get a clean victory in this place?
At least for me, I think the reason why they do it is because they don't want to make one person look too strong or too weak. So they just throw in the DQ, and it's like, okay, well, this person was strong in this match. This person was strong in this match, but, no conclusive winner. So check out next week for the same ending.
Yeah, and that's the problem with me. 'Cause for me, it's the same thing. I know that, Kevin Owens will fight Jericho 3 more times, and I don't expect any of them to win until the last and final meeting.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing, too, because and that's why I always guilt myself into watching Raw just because, but that's the frustrating thing for me, and I'm sure it is for both of you, that it's just the same product, same finish, same match, same stipulation every single week. And, I mean, my thinking is that their logic is, we don't want to make Nia look too strong going into WrestleMania while weakening Bayley. We don't want to make Bayley look too good while weakening Nia. I mean, it's just – that's how I see it, at least. And that's at least frustrating because I think you need a conclusive winner going into WrestleMania. But, I mean –
yeah, at least 1 or 2 clean victories where we can point to it and look and say, hey, listen, this person's done this before. Because now you're going into, I mean, the last time Nia Jax had a real win over Bayley, they were in NXT together.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a long way to look to see, oh, no, she's done this before. Like, that's too much.
And real quick, before Lewis gets in, I don't understand why they can't do, okay, Bayley wins this week, Nia wins this week, Bayley wins this. Like, go back and forth to at least make it interesting.
Or change up the matches.
Yeah, I mean,
have Bayley fight. Have Bayley have a match with Alicia Fox, and then have Nia come out after it's over and then beat her up. You've proved that Nia is strong, and you've proved that Bayley is good at this.
Exactly.
I think we've accomplished all of our goals. So, Lewis, what do you think? What's the deal with Raw not actually giving us winners? Just a lot of unanswered questions.
Your guess is as good as mine. I have no clue. I can't figure out why. And like you said, it's across the board. I mean, you get a good match and Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman and it ends in a DQ or it ends, in a count out. And then same thing, you put in a freaking, cruiserweight match between, Daivari and Noam Dar, and that somehow ends in a DQ. It's across the board.
Exactly.
And, it's DQs and countouts used sparingly work, but when you're using them, if you have 10 matches a night and you're using a DQ or countout in 8 of them.
Yeah, a DQ works great sparingly, like you said, especially for a heel, because it intensifies that heel persona. When you have a face do it and a heel do it at the same time, it really just delegitimizes what's going on.
Right, and if you have it every week, now I don't even expect an ending. I just expect someone to walk away.
Exactly.
The best example of this was this week on SmackDown. You had Dolph Ziggler walk out of a match with Mojo Rawley, and it only made Ziggler look better as a heel because he walked away thinking, this guy's not worth my time, and because it's the first time Ziggler has done this in 4 months. So it makes it 10 times better for him, who's been, getting beaten in recent weeks, just to reignite his heel persona, just to say, hey, I'm not wrestling this guy, I'm walking out. And it worked perfectly. But I'm sure he won't do it again next week. I'm sure he'll have a real match next week with a real winner.
Well, and that's the difference between Raw and SmackDown is it's like, we've said this before, SmackDown has fresher rivalries. They have different matches, different stipulations. Raw, you get the same product every Monday night. You're granted a DQ main event and, a bunch of filler-ins in between that have really no conclusive winner, conclusive loser. Like, that's the frustrating thing for me. And, really the only reason I'm watching it is for a handful of superstars. But, I just don't care enough about the storylines with Raw as much as I do with SmackDown.
Yeah, and to build off what you said, Birch, just another way of how SmackDown's better. They've used DQs in characters at this point.
Exactly.
I remember seeing last night, I think it was before the show. But come on, they did a video of Kurt Hawkins backstage calling himself the next Intercontinental Champion because he beat Dean Ambrose twice by DQ because of Baron Corbin. They use them to build something, be it a joke or an actual
I think
rivalry.
it's because they remember what they did, so they can use it as a character. I think it must be the Raw writers show up to work every week, and they just go, did any of you guys watch what happened last week? No. Okay, we'll write a whole new thing. We're starting from the top.
We're doing it again.
Well, I know the one thing that I came across reading was that, and I don't know if it's 100% true, but it looked legitimate to me, was that Vince was allowing Shane and Daniel Bryan to have writing influence with SmackDown and trying to see how well they could, work together, write a product. And I think it's just showing you SmackDown is mopping the floor with Raw right now.
Whoever writes SmackDown and whoever writes 205 Live and whoever used to write NXT back in its golden days with Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens, should get awards. Whoever they are out there should probably just win awards for something.
Well, he should be put to WWE Hall of Fame as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, some of the greatest matches of the past 3 years have come out of those places.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it just goes to the point that I don't think that Steph is good for Raw. Now, I know that they're trying to do it to build the Shane and Steph, the brother-sister rivalry with the two given shows, but
right.
I just think Shane offers more creativity to the product where Steph is trying to be too much of Vince.
That's also true, but unpopular opinion, I haven't liked Steph in wrestling, let's be honest. To have her take some time away would not be bad.
Like with the DQs, she's great used sparingly.
Right. When she was at Triple H's side and you knew that Triple H was really the one running the show, I think it worked better than her trying to be, I get it. She's an intimidating figure. I won't say that she's not. But when she's staring down somebody who went through, who put his life on the line like Mick Foley does, I'm just hoping that Mick Foley punches her. So I don't think she works in that scenario anymore. I love Mick Foley. No one gets to insult that poor man. All right, so going on from there, my other thing about Raw is, I think watching it last night, we had half an hour of matches and 2.5 hours of promo work, which I'm never upset with Paul Heyman being on TV. He's fun to have, and he's always, at least a good 15, 20 minutes of talking that I can get under my belt. But why did everybody have to have a promo last night? It seems like everyone and their mother got a microphone and was able to speak on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it seems very much like, I don't know, it's almost like they're worried. It's almost like the WWE is worried that, listen, if we do a match with, I don't know, let's spit names out, Samoa Joe and Jinder Mahal, what if something gets screwed up? What if Joe tweaks something and then can't do WrestleMania?
Yeah.
SmackDown seems as though they're not going to have as many matches as Raw, just because Raw's the A show.
It's
WrestleMania.
An hour longer, but
Yeah. But, I mean, as far as WrestleMania is concerned, it seems as though SmackDown's going to have less matches, so they can kind of toy with it. Listen, if Baron Corbin hurts something, I mean, you could literally have Kurt Hawkins face Dean Ambrose at WrestleMania, and I'd watch it.
But is that a more testament to SmackDown's performers and their ability to just jump into any situation, or is it SmackDown's writers like being able to say, hey, listen, we trust that you won't screw this up? Because let's be honest, they're trained professionals, and yes, injuries have happened to both brands. Like, it's not just something that targets certain individuals, but it seems like SmackDown's been able to handle their injuries with so much more class than Raw has.
I was going to make the same point as Lewis, but if you look at the last year or two, I just think maybe this is just bad juju or whatever, but Raw has really had a lot of significant injuries, whether it be Balor, Rollins, KO for a short period of time. I know he battled through it, but, I think 100%, I think they're just worried that if they lose – and, look at the rosters the way that they are. Raw has the better roster, the more A-plus roster. That's not a knock on SmackDown. That's just how they divided it, because Raw is always going to be the superior show. And I think, going into WrestleMania, which is what now, about 3 weeks away?
3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, 3 weeks away. If they were to lose a Joe, a KO, a Jericho or something, they'd have to then scramble for a replacement match. And that replacement, filler-in wrestler, it might not be good, and it would just destroy the match. So, yeah, I mean, going off of Lewis's point, I do think they are really worried about a marquee guy or woman going down.
I mean, but that being said, also going to what SmackDown's had to battle through, they lost Cena. You're talking about the guy who was supposed to be the only reason people would watch SmackDown.
And that's the great thing about SmackDown.
They lost Cena, and then you said, okay, Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles, you guys got to make this work for 3 months, and they did. And then,
and here's the thing is, Cena's probably going to leave again after WrestleMania to do more Hollywood stuff, TV
right, he's going to do more TV shows.
And SmackDown is still going to be fine.
I have no worries about
Ambrose. Yeah, you still have Ambrose, you still have Miz, you still have Styles, you still have Corbin. The women's division is fantastic.
Bray and Randy.
That whole storyline could go to the summer.
Randy was drafted to SmackDown and didn't even show up because he was hurt. And they went on without him. One of SmackDown's big things when they were coming out saying, we're going live and we're bringing back Shelton Benjamin. Then he goes down and they're like, well, screw it. We'll do it without him. So
yeah,
it just feels
I don't
like
know why Raw is...
It just feels like Raw isn't trying as hard. They're like, oh, crap, we have an injury. We could put in somebody else to promote themselves and make them a better wrestler.
I think
push somebody else, but
I think the real fear with them is if they lose a big guy or woman that's having a big push, then it's just going to completely screw up their story. And then, from there, it's crap. But, I mean, I just don't know why they can't have a plan B and a plan C like you see with SmackDown.
Or just push some other people. I mean, you're talking about Yes, Sheamus and Cesaro are now in a tag team per se. But there is no reason in the world that if, say, Samoa Joe goes down next week, right? Say he gets hurt somehow, and you're saying, crap, we can't have that Sami Zayn match for WrestleMania now. Have Sami Zayn fight Cesaro. Because I would love to see that again, because we haven't seen that in years, and they were amazing the last time they went at each other. So, I don't understand why Raw, A, has the superior roster, and then all those great mid-carders who could be title contenders anywhere else, they're just afraid to show up.
I don't know why. I don't know why, and I'll let Lewis, I'll just make a real quick short point. I don't know why Raw ignores the mid-card. And I'll just leave it at that. I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
I was just about to say something very similar. And, I mean, you look post-draft, SmackDown got Cena, Styles, Orton, Bray, Dean.
And The Miz. Don't forget The Miz.
Even The Miz is fringe main event on a brand split. Raw got Rollins, Reigns,
Balor.
KO, Balor.
Yeah. Goldberg, Lesnar.
Goldberg, not Goldberg at the time, but Lesnar.
The Lesnar.
Yeah. And then they both, Raw got Charlotte and Sasha, and SmackDown got Becky and Alexa, and then, New Day went to Raw, American Alpha went to SmackDown. Everything else was kind of split down the middle. And then it was on the shows to develop a mid-card. And you want to know something? As much as his wrestling annoys me, as much as his character's been good, as a wrestling annoys me, but I got to give a tip of the hat to Miz, because him and Ziggler really built up the mid-card on SmackDown to the point where they could make him they could put Miz in, for all intents and purposes, as much as I actually care about the match now, a stupid-ass match.
A ridiculous match just for comedy's sake.
For comedy's sake and for the sake of Total Bellas, they could put Miz in a match like that and be totally okay, because they could have a guy like Corbin step in.
Because Corbin steps in. I mean, you could even have Kurt Hawkins step in again. And when Ryder, even talking about guys who aren't on SmackDown anymore who are injured, Zack Ryder. It was supposed to be a tag team with Mojo Rawley and threatening to take the SmackDown titles, and then he gets hurt. And now Mojo has stepped up to look like a serious singles competitor.
Yeah, SmackDown's even starting to. It's a slow burn.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
They're even starting to make Apollo Crews look good.
Right. So why on earth is it when someone on a tag team gets hurt or broken up on SmackDown, they both go on to have competent singles career, either in a mid card or maybe even higher than that. But when something happens on Raw where someone has to leave, everyone gets locked away for 6 months like they're a toy that can't be used.
Well, you know what? Here's something that I just read this morning that really burned me up. It's like, okay, Jericho is actually expected to stay and postpone the Fozzy tour after WrestleMania.
Please don't. I have tickets to Fozzy.
With that being said, they're now going to ignore Sami Zayn, and they don't expect for him to have any prominent big push, which kind of infuriates me because
just send him to SmackDown already, please.
Well, that's the thing is it's like Zayn is actually a great face and I think a great wrestler, and he has a big following with the fans, and it's like this is where Raw really pisses me off because they continue to ignore the mid card where you could have like you said, you could have Zayn and Cesaro, you could have Zayn and Rusev.
Zayn and Jinder Mahal, for Christ's sake.
Exactly. And I just don't know why whenever somebody gets hurt or somebody stays longer than they expect or whatever the case may be, Raw just continues to neglect the mid-card. And it's like almost when they try to have a mid-card, it's laughable in the wrong way.
Yeah. All right. So we'll move on from that because I think we're just going to get way too angry. Speaking about
for another hour just on that.
SmackDown's mid-card, I mean, this is a match of two guys who could be title contenders anywhere else, but this is the SmackDown's mid-card for WrestleMania, essentially. AJ Styles against Shane McMahon. AJ Styles gets fired last night on SmackDown. Fired per se.
Alumni page. On the alumni page this morning on WWE.
Yeah, he's on the alumni page. He's no longer in any company per se. Does this mean that there is some sort of sign-in trade going or some sort of stipulation going into his match with Shane saying if AJ loses, he has to get traded to Raw for whoever they want.
Well, let me just say this, and I'm saying this in the nicest way possible. What the hell would they trade him for? Who the hell would they trade him for?
Maybe this is like that deal that Brian's been talking about for months. What if this is a deal that AJ Styles goes to Raw to form the club with whoever's over there, and they bring in Zayn and Cesaro to SmackDown? Two guys that Brian said multiple times that he's wanted.
I mean, I would be fine with that. Not really. I mean, yeah, for the club, sure, but I would be fine with it because guys like Zayn and Cesaro are getting neglected on Raw, and I would definitely tune into SmackDown.
I think the two of them could be turned into title contenders almost immediately.
Immediately
in the door.
Immediately on SmackDown. Immediately.
I would love to see Cesaro give a few uppercuts to John Cena. I'd love that. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, because and I'll digress after this, but Cesaro and Sheamus' tag team really isn't going anywhere. It's just a tag team to kind of give like.
It was a holdover so that New Day didn't look bad getting beat.
Right, exactly.
So what do you think, Lewis? Where's this put AJ Styles? Is he leaving SmackDown or is he sticking around?
I think it's going to be a stipulation for WrestleMania to add interest to the match. I think it's going to be, if AJ wins, he gets to go in the title match because that's how this whole thing started. But if Shane wins, he's fired.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be anything majorly landscape shifting because I think AJ's going to win. Especially like you said, Birch, Cena's probably going to take a little more time off after WrestleMania. Sure, you've built up Corbin, you've built up The Miz, but they don't, as good as they've been, they still don't hold the candle to AJ Styles.
Right, but does that also, the AJ leaving SmackDown, not to cut you off, but does that leave a space for Shinsuke Nakamura to come to SmackDown?
One would hope.
It could, but I mean, I was thinking about it while you guys were talking about it. Granted, if they do what it seems that they're going to do, where it's if AJ loses, he's fired, he could technically sign with Raw for nothing, just like Jack Swagger did.
Right.
But if there were a trade, like if he beats Shane and then Daniel's just like, I can't have you here, I'm trading you. I mean, it looks as though Mick Foley's going to be out and Triple H is going to take his spot eventually.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a heel regime.
So much for heel edge coming in.
You're going to have a heel regime on Raw, face regime on SmackDown with Shane and Bryan. I mean, could you have a situation where Raw gets the heel in Styles, but Triple H, who's in charge and is probably going to get his face kicked in by Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins going to SmackDown. I'd be fine with that. That gives me all the more reasons. If somehow Finn Balor goes to SmackDown, I'm done watching Raw.
I don't think Rollins goes to SmackDown for the sole purpose that I don't think that this is a one-stop match at Mania. I reading into things and just kind of doing some research, I think there's going to be a rematch at SummerSlam.
Between who? AJ and Shane?
Between Rollins and Triple H. There's definitely going to be a rematch.
I mean, I would like to see Rollins go to SmackDown if and only if for the reason of to see more title matches between him and Dean Ambrose.
Because those two in the ring together is actually, get your popcorn with those two in the ring.
Yeah, those two are just funny in the ring because they'll poke fun at each other and they know each other so well that any match between the two of them is just fantastic. I mean, and you're also throwing in the fact of, let's not forget, Rollins and Randy Orton, fantastic together.
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose are fantastic together still. Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins have had flashes where they've been incredible. Yeah. And then Raw gets to have AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns, which has had moments but is lackluster at best.
Yeah, I think the only reason I don't see it coming to fruition is just because I do think there's definitely going to be a rematch at SummerSlam between Triple H and Seth Rollins.
All right, so I'll ask the last SmackDown question of the night. Mickie James and Natalya both had matches last night on SmackDown, and there were moments in those matches that looked really good. Mickie James fighting Alexa Bliss, Natalya facing Becky Lynch. But my question to you guys is, I watched both matches. There were moments where Natalya looked slow as all hell and looked real old. And when Mickie James finally hit that Mick kick to win the match, I think I could have hit that Mick kick because it was going so slow. So is it a matter of maybe they should put them against each other or other veterans so they don't look as old and slow? Or is it just a sign of, hey, maybe bringing back part-timers isn't the greatest idea in the world?
Well, I mean, I think it's tough because I love Mickie, but
I know everyone loves Mickie,
Yeah.
but you gotta hang it up sometime. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, part of me though thinks that that's the reason they may have turned her face on Alexa instead of Alexa turning on her.
Okay.
Because, I mean, as we talked about, last time, I mean, we think Naomi's going to come back and win. But you have to assume at some point Mickie James is going to win the title. She wouldn't have come back if there wasn't something in it for her besides the paper.
Yeah, I still think she's trying to get the rust out. I mean, she hasn't wrestled in, 6-7 years? Maybe a little bit longer. So, I mean, I still...
Well, besides in the company that shall not be named.
That shall not be named.
I still think she's getting the rust out. And, point be made, she's definitely going to make a run for the title at some point.
But what about Natalya, who has never left and has always been here? She looked geriatric going into a sharpshooter. So is it time for her to take some time away just to?
I'm wondering if she might be
together?
hurt because she's been in a lot of matches since the summer.
Absolutely, I'll give her credit.
Yeah,
she's been a fighter.
She's really proven to me that she can play both the face and the heel and solidify SmackDown's mid card. So, with all due respect, I think there could be some mileage and maybe some kind of injury. So I wouldn't be surprised if she takes some time off after WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, I would like her. Not that I don't like her. I love her as a wrestler, but take some time off because, like you said, she did do a lot of work as soon as the brand split happened, and even before that. But just last night she had Becky up on the top rope, and Becky went for a reversal to go to the disarmer, and I think it was just a simple roll through, and Natalya could barely get her body across. She could barely throw the weight of Becky, who doesn't look like she weighs that much.
Yeah, if you keep up with Total Divas, not that I do anymore, but she does a lot to help with the younger female wrestlers. So,
yes.
In terms of like off-ring sparring, just working out with them. So, I mean, she's great for that aspect, and she's great because she helps solidify the mid card where it's not Bliss, Becky, Mickie. So, I mean, it just goes to my point that I think for as much as she does for the company, she definitely could use like 2-3 months off.
Yeah, and I mean, I would like for her to take some time off, and then, I know this is another one, but, for NXT, I have a feeling that Ember Moon is taking that title away from Asuka. Which may mean
I swear to Christ, if she goes to Raw.
I would
Don't
like
be
to see
surprised.
Asuka. I would like to see Asuka go to SmackDown just because that gives them the big four that Raw already has, and even the big five now that Dana Brooke is on her own.
Well, yeah, it would make sense for her to go to SmackDown because, come Survivor Series, it would balance out for a great women's, Raw versus SmackDown women's match.
Right, and with Nikki, I mean, there's rumors being that John proposes to Nikki. That takes Nikki out for at least a little bit to do wedding stuff.
Well, yeah, and I think she's done too because I've read that her neck has been bothering her. So I think she's probably going to take – if she doesn't retire and start her, life with Cena, then she definitely would take a long period of time off at the very least.
Right. So, I mean, to lose her and then to gain Asuka would kind of cut even, and it would keep SmackDown's women division going if Natalya needs to leave, or maybe even Mickie needs to take some time off to then come back to, shake off the rest of that ring rust and come back the Mickie James that we hoped we would get when she was originally announced.
Yep, exactly.
So then we'll move to 205 Live. So if you don't know what that is, that's the WWE Cruiserweight show. Specifically for the kind of the Daniel Bryan sized wrestlers that I think he would have excelled at as a wrestler if it was around when he was able to wrestle. But I kind of want that to talk about 205 Live's main event, which was a fatal 5-way for the number one contender spot. I mean, we kind of talked about it last time that we knew who was going to win. We kind of felt Austin Aries was fighting Neville regardless. But just to watch probably the biggest 5 guys in the Cruiserweight division go at it, just fantastic to watch, and probably the match of the week between all three shows, regardless of what happens on NXT tonight. I mean, does this mean that the Cruiserweight division is more on the map now, and that their show is actually probably getting better ratings than Raw does, or at least better fan feedback than Raw does?
I would say 100% absolutely. I think the only thing that the Cruiserweight division was missing when they first came back after the tournament were characters. They had a bunch of good wrestlers. They didn't have any characters. Rich Swann kind of kicked the tires on that with his, dancing and, you can't handle this. And then obviously heel Neville, A doubles package, Gentleman Jack Gallagher,
Jack. I mean, even for the comedy, Noam Dar,
Noam Dar. I mean, the only ones that really are just wrestlers now are Cedric and Akira Tozawa.
Right. And Akira Tozawa, I think, is going to get a personality in the fact that he's just going to kick Brian Kendrick's ass, and that's his personality. And I'm fine with that.
And even Kendrick, I mean, I should not be interested in Brian Kendrick. He is the Zack Ryder of the Cruiserweight division. But he's starting, I don't know if it's just me that I'm in denial and I just want to see this. But he's starting to take on his persona a bit from the Mike Adamle era when he was the Brian Kendrick and was on Raw and SmackDown every week.
He's not calling himself the Brian Kendrick at this point, but he is calling himself the man with the plan all the time.
Yeah.
And at least he's now being that veteran role that almost Jericho took on for a little bit, where every time someone else comes up there, he's the first one to fight them to make sure they know what they're doing out there.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like I said, I don't know.
And that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said, I don't know if this is me in denial because I want to see it.
I think
he's getting closer and closer to the persona he had during the Brian Kendrick's years. And it has me at the point where I'm literally waiting for and I watch his matches just to see it, and when it doesn't happen, I go get a snack. But I pay attention to his matches because I'm waiting for him to turn around, when he walks out for his entrance, and just point behind him and have Big Zeke walk out behind him because he's not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, you could have that maybe as more cruiserweights come in and he's pushed even farther and farther down the totem pole.
Yeah.
But I think for now, just the ability, I mean, even the last 5 minutes of that match, he hit sliced bread on AA and then put him in the captain's hook and really made it look like Brian Kendrick was going to face Neville and put up a good fight against Austin Aries, which made it at least interesting for me and kept me on my toes to be like, holy crap, they may pull a fast one and send someone else instead of Austin Aries.
Yeah.
So I think that's the ability for me to not be able to read a show with only 2 or 3 legitimate stars, but be able to read Raw with 8 of them like a book, I think speaks volumes about what they've been able to do on that show.
Yeah, and what's really interesting, at least for me, for the 205, is you can read up on spoilers and rumors with Raw and SmackDown. You don't get that as much with the Cruiserweight, which is why I feel it's more fresh and just open. Anything's possible with that and how they take their time in building up these guys rather than just rushing it and the same thing every week.
I think it also helps that for the cruiserweights, I think their number one draw, besides good wrestling, is just the excitement level that they bring.
And package.
NA's package, but you're talking about, on Raw, it's all about let's put someone through a table or someone through the barricade or something like that. Last night, Tony Nese drove his knee through Austin Aries' skull, through the barricade, and sent both of them unconscious into the crowd. And to see someone who isn't a Braun Strowman-sized man do that is insane. So I think even if you do read up on spoilers and you say, what happens on 205 Live, I gotta know, and, you find out a day in advance who wins, if you don't watch it, you miss out on so much of the excitement that actually is a part of cruiserweight wrestling. That is the fun part of cruiserweight wrestling for most people.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, so we're into the last section of today's show. March Madness starts tomorrow. I want to ask each of you guys right off the bat, who you got going into? Who's your tournament winner? Not in your BS brackets, not in your coin flip brackets. In your real bracket, who takes it home for you?
As much as I'd love to see Nova repeat, I think they're going to go far. I don't think they're going to be able to get by Duke if and when the time comes. I am really high, and I never will pick a 1 seed to win. But I have a gutsy feeling this year about Gonzaga.
Wow,
Oh,
I mean,
please.
I don't know.
But for the first time ever, me and Birch agree on something and disagree on something else. Because I also picked Gonzaga to win it this year because I think they can actually pull it off with their senior leadership.
It's
But
incredible.
I actually picked Nova over Duke. I don't think Duke wins. I think Duke blows chunks. Because I think when you look at, if Nova had faced Duke a round earlier, I would have given it to Duke hands down. But in the round where you look at, I had Duke, Kentucky, and Kansas all losing in the same round. Because when you hit that round, you're nearing playoff time for basketball, which means you're starting to figure out what teams from the NBA have what picks, or will likely get what picks. And that means the guys who know that they're one and done aren't thinking about this tournament anymore. They're thinking about paydays. So I think you're going to see guys like Giles, Tatum, and, everyone else that's going to go one and done from Kentucky, their entire roster, is now thinking about putting up as many points and stats as possible rather than winning a team game. So you're going to see some of those mid-range teams take over with their senior leadership. I mean, for me, the one time Duke won 2 years ago, Jahlil Okafor played like trash in that final game.
Sounds about right to his play today.
It sounds about what he's doing now, but he played like absolute crap. He had played well through the tournament and played like crap in that final game. And the only reason that they really won was because Marshall Plumlee knew that he was coming back anyway. Cook knew that he wasn't becoming an NBA player. He was going to graduate and move on with his life. So this was his last chance. And then you had Justice Winslow, who was a second-round pick at best before that night, and just looked at it and said, listen, this might be my last chance too, and played great D against Frank Kaminsky, forcing him to be a lower pick, and Justice Winslow having a good career with the Heat now. So, I mean, I think those kind of teams are going to do 10 times better than the teams that are filled with one-and-done players. So I think Gonzaga's got it, and I think Duke only makes it to the Elite Eight this year.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of blown away by Gonzaga. Nova, they had I think 2 or 3 really key losses for me. So I really question if those losses are going to bring them down. Right. Another team to watch out for though is UCLA. Alonzo Ball's just a freak.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and the talent that they have around him is solid.
Can he just hold on and wait till his brothers get into UCLA so you have a team full of balls?
I just really hope his dad stops talking because I'm really getting sick and tired of him.
Because Lonzo Ball is going to end up being a Sixer, and now you got to listen to it for life.
Oh, God. No.
They're going to have LeVar Ball and Chucky Okafor on the same team.
I'm done. And that is when the process will have died. Yeah, I don't know. This is a strange tournament for me because I never ever pick 1 seeds, but I got a
I have a feeling about Gonzaga this year. I got a weird feeling. So, Lewis, who do you got? Syracuse and Ohio State are not in the tournament, so
I know it's rough.
And neither is Stephen F. Austin. Really Stephen F. Austin, your baby, isn't in there.
Oh man, don't call Stephen F. Austin.
Upsets when I couldn't pick Stephen F. Austin. I am going to vomit saying this because I don't take this team.
I know where you're going with this based on your Facebook picture.
Oh, I know what it is because I knew we were going to talk about it.
I don't take this team at all because when I take them, they lose to some irrelevant-ass school in the first round.
Troy, baby. It's time for Troy.
I am taking Duke.
And there goes Troy. Troy basketball has just won everything.
Troy basketball just won.
Oh, my God.
I mean,
I need to hear your rationale on this, though.
Yeah, hold on.
You vehemently hate Duke.
I've been booed for 3 years. For 3 years, I've been violently booed in everything I have a fandom for, and now you're cheering for.
I just let it go. I don't really care about Duke because I respect Krzyzewski. It's just when Lewis tells me and shows that he's picking Duke, something has to have given for him to come around to this.
You must have died somewhere, and someone else is doing this podcast right now.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at it, and based on how I pick, I have Marquette beating South Carolina. I don't like any SEC basketball team besides Kentucky and Florida.
See, I put in the Gamecocks purely for their name. So I have no opinion about that game.
Yeah. Duke playing Troy. I don't expect Troy to win, but they probably will now because I picked Duke.
Let's go, Troy.
Baylor has been okay. SMU, no thanks. I mean, like I said, I have Florida getting to the Sweet 16. Duke's just too hot for me coming in. They ran through the ACC tournament. Everything's finally clicking, and it took a bit because of the injuries to the freshmen right away. But everything's clicking right now, and I can't help but think that they're just going to go on a run in the tournament and win the whole thing.
I'm buying you a Grayson Allen jersey if they win. I don't care. You're getting one.
Well, here's my question. If Grayson Allen decides to go...
No, it's Grayson Allen.
Well, my question is if Grayson Allen decides to go to his, vigilante alias, Dick Grayson, and start swiping at people and tripping every...
Hey, you leave him alone.
Let's think about this. Like, Grayson Allen is a good player. He's just such a cocky little shit with his antics. And I've dubbed him Dick Grayson because he's punching people, he's tripping people. You might as well just...
He's a dick.
You know what? It fits perfectly, too, because Nightwing's outfit is black and blue, and Duke's colors are black and blue.
And he's going to leave a lot of players black and blue.
If he decides to go Nightwing on the tournament, does Duke still have a chance?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, because Luke Kennard plays better when Dick Grayson isn't there.
Well, it's also, you got to think about it, it's Coach K. All of the guys on Duke's bench could start at most other schools.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So
well, here's what I want to ask you guys. The likelihood on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, obviously, Nova repeating.
Oh, I would say a 3.
I'd give it maybe a 5%.
Okay.
Chance.
Oh, I said 3 out of 10. So I don't know what that's a 30.
I would say like a 2.
Fair enough.
Because as much as I like Nova coming out of it, I think, yes, they had to fight extremely hard to beat teams like Seton Hall and Xavier, which, if they're going to repeat, shouldn't have happened. Those should have been walk-offs.
But see, that's kind of where it's interesting for me because the same thing kind of happened last year where they struggled to beat teams that they should have beaten, and then the tournament came, and that team just came out of nowhere.
Right, but you're also
started mopping the floor with people.
But who did Villanova, up until UNC, what powerhouse schools did Nova take down?
I'd have to go back and look.
Because I think them facing Duke this year, even though I picked Duke over them, even if they beat Duke, they have to then play Gonzaga. So it's too many powerhouse games in a row for me to look at them and just go, yeah, they can do it again. I think they'll get far, but I don't think they win.
Especially, I mean, I'm looking at it. I think they're going to have, I don't know how this worked out, they're going to have a tougher road, in my opinion, from the 1 seed that Duke's going to have with the 2 seed to reach the Elite Eight.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll probably have Wisconsin in the second round.
That's a tough game.
They're a tough out. Especially, just like you said, Alec, they're just a bunch of seniors that have
They're a bunch
around.
of seniors. Well, that's the thing. When you're playing, like Nova last year, a bunch of guys who weren't expected to do much after college basketball is over, you're fighting for everything at that. You got to leave everything on the court because this is your last shot. This is it for you.
Yeah, looking at it, the only legitimate – I mean, Oklahoma had a great run last year, but the only legitimate team here that Nova took out was Kansas.
Right. So you're talking about one team.
And then North Carolina, obviously, in the championship.
Right. But that was on a prayer. That God came down and helped them win that game.
That's just Josh Hart, baby.
So you're talking about a two teams that with full of seniors and full of guys who probably aren't going to go past this. Both teams are going to play their heart out, which means even if Villanova beats Wisconsin, they're going to come out of it tired and beat up. Then you got to play Duke, and then you got to play whoever.
Well, they'd have to
beats
play
Gonzaga.
Florida before Duke.
Right, they got to play Florida, Duke. I mean, in the Elite Eight at least. And then in the Final Four, you're going to have to either take Gonzaga, which I think Gonzaga's going to get there, or whoever's coming out of that division, whether it's Arizona or Gonzaga.
Yeah, the odds are against them. As much as I'd love to see it, and I know as much as this town would love to see it because they got behind it last year.
Because there's not much to root about in the town right now.
Well, professional basketball is a slump. The football team right now, you're only winning in the free agency market. The hockey team is falling out of the playoffs.
They got to make sure no one says Dream Team. Tape Alshon Jeffrey's mouth shut.
Yeah, I think that was a clause.
Nick Foles. Nick Foles has
to say it now.
He doesn't speak much anyway, but the odds are really stacked against him with like Virginia, Florida, Wisconsin, Gonzaga, Duke. I mean, it would be a miracle.
I would start writing the movie to make it into like a miracle movie right now if they won.
Well, no, it would be like Invincible. It would be Invincible too.
No,
we'll get Mark Wahlberg to play Jay Wright.
No, because Mark Wahlberg is getting nowhere near anything I've ever produced ever. That the Yankee Clipper is coming nowhere near anything I've ever done.
Sour grapes.
Listen, man, no Red Sox fans. So I want to ask you guys, dark horses, whose teams that you see either upsetting somebody or going far when statistically they really shouldn't?
You know what? I'm going to jump on this right now, and I'm looking at the bracket. Either Arkansas or Seton Hall in the second round upsets UNC.
Really?
Yeah, okay. I'm not high on this UNC team at all this year.
Not something even I would say, and I hate UNC, but I think UNC's going pretty far this year.
I don't know. I get a weird feeling. They just haven't impressed me this year. They've been good, obviously, because they're number one. But if there was ever a call for somebody to pull off a major upset this year, it would be Arkansas or Seton Hall just blindsiding UNC.
What about you, Lewis? What do you got? No Stephen F. Austin, but who you got?
No Stephen F. Austin. Real quick, I'm just gonna disagree with you, Birch. I mean, I have UNC get into the Elite Eight before losing to LeVar's kid. So
we're not gonna name him. He's just LeVar's kid.
Yeah, if you ever look at my bracket, I always try to go for one major upset, and that's the one.
But see, here's my upset, and I actually took it a little bit far. I mean, normally, Alec, when we did the brackets last year in the dorm, I kind of take these upsets, but they all play like bigger seeds in the second round, and I get rid of them all. So it's like an easy cop-out.
Unless it's Stephen F. Austin, and they go all the way.
There was always a bracket where Stephen F. Austin went all the way. But to build off that, since you mentioned Stephen F. Austin, I went all the way to the Elite Eight with another team that wears purple, Northwestern.
Wow. Okay.
Now, you know what the funny thing is? I have considered that.
I think they blow out Vanderbilt. Like I said, I do not like any SEC basketball team that's not Kentucky or Florida.
Okay.
Then, second round, Gonzaga. I mean, aside from the 40-year-old man-child on Gonzaga that's balding already.
Hey, you leave him alone.
I'm not a fan of his
dad. He tries hard.
He's just like our dad.
He's balding. He's gonna be
Shout out to Ryan Gutschall. Love you, buddy.
He's going to be even more frightening when he gets to the NBA and just shaves his head and has his beard.
He's going to look like Greg Oden when Oden was 21 and look like a 50-year-old man.
That's what we should do. Hold on. Before we do anything, Ryan Gutschall, if you're listening, grow a beard. Let's just be honest.
Please.
That'd be hysterical.
Please. I don't care what Morgan says.
Just do it, man.
Beards are in style.
They are. But then I have them beating Gonzaga.
Okay.
Then I have them beating Notre Dame. As much as that kills Tim, he can probably hear me from across the hall.
Tim's got his sniper rifle on you right now.
He does. I have them getting to the Elite Eight before I have them losing to Arizona. So
Notre Dame, I know Tim. Yeah, I know Tim tweeted this the other day, but Notre Dame's a team that I think could make some noise in this tournament.
I have them making a.
He's convinced they're losing to Princeton.
Oh,
what?
He's accepted it. He goes,
Wait,
the
what?
Ivy League team wins one game every year, and it's freaking Notre Dame that has to face them.
Yeah,
That's true, but I don't know if I don't think it's gonna happen this year because they usually play it's like a really bad. They usually play the Troy. So I don't know. So for me, my dark horses. I mean, right off the bat, I gotta disagree with Lewis because I don't think I have Northwestern making.
We're all disagreeing with each other today.
The littlest
that's
noise.
the norm.
I think they have the littlest noise. I think they go out even quieter than Troy does in the first round. Because I have Vanderbilt beating them, not badly, but just taking them out. And I don't like SEC teams either. I don't trust them usually. But just the quality of teams that they've had to play, being that they've played Florida and Kentucky, both have lost, but at least they got to see it and they know what those powerhouse schools look like, gives me some faith in that they can win at least one game. But my upsets so far, I'm going to hop on the bandwagon of I like Vermont at least beating Purdue. I don't like Purdue. It's well
because
known.
of Bernie Sanders?
Well, no, I just hate Purdue with a burning passion because I like Notre Dame. So fuck Purdue. But I also
love me some Caleb Swanigan.
I like Vermont just
He's
because
a good player.
They haven't lost in a month and a half, and I think when you're a low seed school in a nothing conference and you have blown out everybody, there's a swagger and a confidence you bring in that I think you can take out at least one team. Like when Dayton takes out Ohio State or Lehigh takes out Duke, you take out one team and then you'll walk away and just nothing happens after that. So Vermont's my upset. I think I have them taking Purdue and then losing the next game, but I have them at least making that upset happen, breaking a lot of brackets, and then, leaving with their heads held high.
Do you know what? With that being said, what's your guys' national championship game?
Well, let's start with the Final Four.
Okay.
Hold on, let me go. You guys do it because I have to grab mine then. So
go ahead, Brett. You can go first.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it now. I haven't even filled one out, so I'm kind of doing this on the fly.
Well, that means you're lazy. That's what that is.
No time like the present.
No time like when we're
I'm
doing
looking
this.
at on the left side. I'm looking at Gonzaga, obviously, and I'm gonna pick. Yeah, Gonzaga, Duke in the Final Four on the left, the Final Two on the left, and then on the right side, I'm gonna go UCLA. And my dark horse team every year, I do this because I love Tom Izzo, Michigan State.
Oh,
just because.
No.
Christ.
I am done with Tom Izzo.
After last year, I'm done with Tom Izzo.
I am done with Tom Izzo.
Him.
We're not friends anymore.
No, in all seriousness, UCLA and probably
Screw
Louisville.
the balls too.
Louisville.
I'm going with the balls.
Yeah, I'm going Louisville, UCLA, Duke, and Gonzaga Final Four.
All right, Lewis, who do you got? Who's your Final Four?
I got Duke and Arizona, and UCLA and Oregon.
Wow. All right. So, I mean, ours have some similarities, but not a lot of them. My Final Four is out of the East. I have Villanova and Gonzaga, and then I have out of the West Oregon and UNC. So, what hurts me the most is that as a Duke fan, I picked UNC to go farther than my own team. But I just
Hey, props to you for at least not being biased with it.
no, there's a bracket where Duke crushes every single team and shuts out the national championship game. But for the realistic one, I don't have them going very much farther than the Elite Eight. I just like Oregon this year, and I like Gonzaga too much this year to vote against them. Although
I'm with Gonzaga. We can stay together.
I liked Michigan State last year, so maybe don't trust me at all. So
you know what the thing is this is the first year I don't have Michigan State in the Final Four in like 5 years. I just love.
After last year, I have them losing the first game because I'm just like, I'm done with you.
I think I have them out first round too. Let me check. What bracket are they in?
They are in the. I believe they're in the Midwest.
I'm sorry.
Midwest.
I gave them a game. I have them beating the U, and then I have them getting crushed by Kansas.
For our good friend Troy, I picked the U because screw Michigan State and Tom Izzo, you worthless coach.
Oh, here's an upset that I didn't realize I picked. I have URI beating Creighton.
You take that back. You take that back right now.
Go Rhode Island.
No, I'm taking Creighton. This is
No.
it's
Okay, so
happening.
national championship game then.
Mine is Villanova and not Villanova, Gonzaga and UNC, and I have Gonzaga beating UNC.
Yeah, I'm going Gonzaga, UCLA, Gonzaga.
Chucky versus LeVar, Duke versus UCLA.
Oh my God,
Oh.
You're doing that just for the storyline.
Yeah, you just want a marketing ploy. It's like when you brought Geno Smith into Philly. I know what this is.
Geno stinks.
Thank God that never came to fruition.
Could have brought in Pat McAfee too.
Pats.
Geno and Pats.
Oh God, the commercials that would have come on at school where we had to
We
watch
just
that.
we just need to find a player.
They would have
named
come on
Rocky.
right after my commercial.
Wait, what's your commercial?
The
No,
DeSales
no.
one.
Where your
Where
ass is
it's my
showing
back
for 3 seconds. Lewis's ass is on TV.
Yep. Just like A-Double's package.
I think I would give A Double's package more screen time than I'd give your ass.
I don't have an ass, so there you go.
Be stopped.
All right, well, that's it. That's it for today. We have talked about our NFL free agents. We talked about Raw, SmackDown. Talked about 205 Live, and you've heard our March Madness brackets and just how ugly we disagree with each other about basketball.
But that's just how it is.
That's just how it is. No one
If
really
there's
knows.
anything to take away from this week's episode, screw you, Tom Izzo.
Yes. If,
And also, Ryan Gutschall, please grow a beard.
yeah, the two notes I want everyone to take away from this: Ryan Gutschall, please grow a beard and just shave your head and let me shine it like a cue ball, because that'd be hysterical. And also, screw you, Tom Izzo. Just retire, please. And also, to whoever who's writing Raw, go screw yourself with Tom Izzo. If you can find Tom Izzo, do it together. All right?
Screw club.
Yeah, screw
Whoever
club.
is writing for Raw, we are looking for jobs and would like to participate in writing for our favorite show.
No, I don't want to participate because I want to write for SmackDown instead because Daniel Bryan's a GOAT. So, screw off.
I would
Raw.
make a trade. Daniel Bryan comes to Raw.
All right. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. I've been Alec Roman with my co-hosts Lewis Schaefer and Alexander Birch. This has been the Feed Me Sports Podcast. If you like what you heard, please go to our website where we write sports articles all the time, feedmesports.wordpress.com. We have more articles coming out in the coming days, and we'll probably have a lot of angry articles coming out as basketball teams start to lose. And as
Tom Izzo.
I'll be writing a really angry article soon about the
Nova.
Devils because they suck and they disappoint me. So,
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I got to go watch the Flyers and Pens. The only reason I'm going is because it's Flyers Pens, and I know we're gonna lose.
I'm seeing Flyers Devils tomorrow, and my tears will be shed. So that being said, well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.